time. But it's a beautiful sunshiny day, despite what we endured just a few days ago, showing that there are ups and downs as we are on this trek toward justice, toward humanity, toward equity, toward tremendous possibility of all of the world's people. But we're going to keep on walking, keep on talking, and moving forward together.
That's right.
So I am Joyce Hobson Johnson, one of the tri-chairs. I'm joined here with my other tri-chairs, Reverend Hannah Broom and Mrs. Ana Blackburn. But we want to move swiftly to why have we called you here? What is our purpose? With all of what we're doing, we always need to stay steadfast on our purpose.
That's right. That's right.
So for that, we are pleased to introduce you to some and really re-meet for others, the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II.
Yeah. All right.
I want to ask the tri-chairs of North Carolina to come as COVID close safe we can be. And I want to thank all of the media for coming and those that are online, and be very succinct this morning. On the last Monday in this month, we will have a mass Moral Monday event right here on Bicentennial Mall. And it will include also persons, particularly impacted people, impacted by poverty, low wealth, racism, environmental degradation, lack of health care, the war economy, false moral narrative, religious nationalism, from South Carolina, Anna, and from Tennessee, and from Virginia. This is a part of a 12-stop tour, national tour, that started in Alabama on Love Day, February 14th, with southern states. And all of this is leading to the mass Poor People's Assembly, Poor People's Low-Wage Workers Assembly, and Moral March on Washington and to the polls. I want Rob to step up. He's one of our deputy national mobilizers. And for this event in Washington, we have now 45 state coordinating committees, over 2,500 clergy of every different faith in this country, over 12 denominational bodies, and over 200 partners. But most importantly, we are mobilizing among the 140 million poor and low wealth people in this country.
That's right. That's right.
43% of this nation, a shameful number, 52% of our children, those who have been made poorer even during COVID, who have decided that somebody's been hurting our people and we won't be silent anymore. And the mobilization is for three purposes. It's a mobilization and it's an organizing. Number one, we're mobilizing to shift the moral narrative in this country. Because on June 18th, it will not be people speaking on behalf of people, but it will be people who are impacted by what we call the 5 interlocking injustices: systemic racism, systemic poverty, ecological devastation, the denial of health care, the war economy, and the false moral narrative, religious nationalism. They will be coming and speaking to the nation, putting a face on the 140 million. 66 million of that 140 million are white.
Yes, they are. 26
million are black. 38% of Latinos are poor and low wealth. 38% of indigenous people. over 20% of Asians. 73 million women. And during COVID, billionaires made $2 trillion so far.
Shame.
While 8 million more people fell into poverty.
Mama.
Oh, shame.
If the American Rescue Plan had included the provision we fought for, and that is for all people to be eligible for a $15 minimum wage last February. 40 1% of African Americans would have been lifted out of poverty and low wealth,
That's right.
and 31 million Americans. 31 million Americans. We did do a little child tax credit, but now it's gone, and so the millions of children that were lifted out of poverty have been thrown right back into poverty.
Shame.
And so what we're saying is this mass moral gathering on DC, listen, it's a poor people's low wage workers assembly and mass moral gathering on Washington and to the polls, because poor and low wealth people now make up 30% of the electorate.
All right now.
And in some states, when the election is within 3%, in the presidential election, 45%. In North Carolina, if just 19% of poor and low wealth voters that are already eligible to vote were to be moved to the polls and vote, they could determine who sits in the Senate, who sits in the presidency. Just 19%, not 100, not 30%, not 40. And in 15 states, the percentage is between 1% in Michigan and 20-some percent in some of the southern states. But there is a power that poor and low wealth voters have throughout this country. And we're mobilizing to, first of all, change the moral narrative. Somebody say change the moral narrative.
Change the moral narrative.
By changing the narrators. Say that.
Change the narrative.
So we're gonna put a face on these numbers. Secondly, we are mobilizing to build power. So from June all the way to the midterms and beyond, we're gonna be intentionally mobilizing what one study calls the now awakened sleeping giant, which is poor and low wealth people. Remembering that Dr. King said that voter suppression and segregation were all stratagems to try to keep the masses of poor Negro people and the masses of poor white people from coming together and forming a political bloc that could fundamentally shift the economic architecture of the nation.
That's right.
So we're not listening to what the pundits say about how the midterms are going to turn out. We're mobilizing the people, and we're mobilizing from the mountains of North Carolina to the sand hills of North Carolina. We're mobilizing in this city and in the road, mobilizing from Appalachia to Alabama. We're mobilizing with Kansas farmer and fast food workers, from upstate New York all the way to the Tenderloin in San Francisco. And people are coming together. And then the third thing we're doing is we're putting before, that day we will put before the nation our third Reconstruction agenda that has been vetted by economists who say not only is it a moral agenda, it's an economically sound agenda.
That's right.
It's an agenda that says why we must have living wages and guaranteed housing and guaranteed health care and how we must protect people's lives and how we are losing by not doing these things, and we could be gaining. For instance, for the media, if we paid everybody a $15 living wage right now, not only would it lift 31 million people out of poverty and low wealth, it would pump $330 billion immediately into the economy.
Yeah.
Immediately into the economy. So poverty as it exists doesn't have to exist. It's not personal choices, it's policy decisions.
That's right.
It's policy decisions. And so changing the moral narrative, say changing the narrative,
Change the narrative.
building power,
Building power.
and putting before the nation a third Reconstruction agenda
Putting before the nation a third Reconstruction agenda.
that has 14 points in it that talks about are the things that we need to do if America is serious about addressing a reality that's now facing almost 50% of its people. I want you to get that almost 50% of our people are living in poverty and low wealth. And even during COVID, something is wrong with the moral conscience of this nation.
That's right.
That even during COVID, we've not found the capacity to at least guarantee people health care and guarantee them a living wage. And the people who have been hurt the most are poor and low wealth people, which leads me to my final point. On April the 2nd, during and 3rd, 4th, the weekend of the anniversary of the terrible assassination of Dr. King, we are releasing a report. Jeffrey Sachs, one of the leading economists, and over 50 economists are joining with us to release a report on what's the real truth about the nearly 1 million people who have died. What's the real truth about how poor and low wealth people are the ones who've really died? What's the real truth about how poor and low wealth people have been hurt during COVID that didn't have to be hurt because they were already suffering before COVID ever hit,
Yeah.
and 700 people were dying a day from poverty
That's right.
and low wealth before COVID ever hit. 250,000 a year.
Yes.
And it does not have to be. This is the point.
That's right.
So we're coming across this moral movement. It's a movement made up of all races, creeds, colors, sexualities. Everybody's welcome to come. We're joining in. It's not a one-day event, it's a declaration
That's right.
that we won't be silent anymore.
Anymore.
It's not a moment, it's a movement.
Yeah.
Movement.
It is the people coming together who have the moral authority and, yes, Joyce, the power
That's
to
right.
shift this nation
Yes.
That's right.
by being unified together.
Yes.
We are doing 12 of these stops. The one we're doing here on the, what's that date?
28th March.
Over 35 organizations, Anna and Joyce and Hannah and others have brought together over 35 organizations in North Carolina for this Mass Moral Monday. The last stop we're doing, you should know in our close, is going to be in Tennessee and Memphis.
Memphis, oh yes.
Because we're not going to let this movement remain assassinated on a balcony in Memphis.
That's right. That's right.
For 54 years,
Yes.
we've dealt with the assassination. Now it's time for the resurrection.
Resurrection.
We don't need violent insurrections.
That's right.
We need a moral resurrection. And we are going to be that moral resurrection.
That's right.
And in June 18th, we will have the largest gathering of poor and low wealth people, religious advocates, and others ever in the nation's history to make it clear to this nation that to continue down this path of not addressing and fully addressing poverty is constitutionally inconsistent, it's morally indefensible, it's politically insensitive, and it is economically insane.
That's right.
Yes.
And we will not stand for the insanity anymore.
That's right.
And we promise you on that day that the people who will speak will be impacted persons,
Yes.
That's right.
because they are the greatest moral authority for why we must change. We're not going to beg America, to beg a government.
No.
We're offering this country a future,
Yes.
That's right.
because we cannot exist as a nation with this kind of stress and strain on our everyday reality, where nearly half of the people live in poverty and low wealth in the richest nation in the history of this world. So I'm honored to be able to step up for a minute, but now I need to step back and let the North Carolina folks speak. Tennessee is coming, Virginia is coming. We'll be right here. All roads lead to DC, June 18th, 2022. And I'm honored to be one in the number and just to be a servant with all of you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Dennis Gaddy. I currently serve as the Criminal Justice Chair for the NAACP of North Carolina. I'm also a member of the North Carolina Second Chance Alliance. And I want to talk about a personal thing with me around how the voter suppression impacted me.
All right.
Just a few points first, some quick hitters. There are approximately 5.1 million people are disenfranchised due to a felony conviction. 5.7 million. 1 out of 44 adults, 2% of the U.S. voting eligible population is disenfranchised due to a current or previous felony conviction.
Right.
Wow.
In 3 states, Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee, more than 8% of the adult population, that's 1 in every 13 people,
Mama.
is disenfranchised.
Disenfranchised.
1 in 16 African Americans of voting age is disenfranchised, a rate of 3.7 times greater than that of non-African Americans. Over 6.2% of the adult African American population is disenfranchised compared to 1.7% of the non-African American population. just a few things to key in on. In North Carolina, in 2021, the Second Chance Alliance, the NAACP, and others filed a lawsuit against the North Carolina legislature, the people right behind us here,
That's right.
claiming that the current voting structure for people with records is unconstitutional. We are arguing that a person should be eligible to register and vote after completing their jail or prison sentence, even if they're still on probation.
That's right.
If a person is working, paying taxes,
That's right.
contributing to his or her society,
That's right.
we believe they ought to be able to vote.
Yes.
Now let me tell you my story. I spent 5.5 years in the North Carolina Department of Corrections because of some poor choices I made. And when I came home, I had a 7-year probation period. Now I come from a very, very strong civic-minded family. My mom was all over the place getting people registered to vote. My dad was our precinct chair for 50 years. So I was very civic-minded growing up. But yet, when I got out of prison in 2005, for the next 7 years, I couldn't vote, and that allowed me not to be able to vote for the first African-American president.
Shame. Shame.
So we were victorious in the first round before a 3-judge panel here in Raleigh. And on that day, 56,000 people were reenfranchised automatically.
Yes.
But by no surprise, within 10 days, this decision was appealed, and that's currently where we are right now. We've got to be on top of voter suppression. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me make one clarifying piece, and I'm glad Dennis raised that, because it's important for the media and others when they understand this movement. So I speak about poverty, and Dennis Gaddy talks about voter disenfranchisement, felony disenfranchisement. You say, well, how does that work? Here's how this movement looks at things. When we talk about racism, we look at it through the premise of racialized voter suppression, mass incarceration, denial of immigrant justice for immigration rights, and the continuing mistreatment of indigenous people.
That's right.
When we look at poverty, we look at the lack of living wages, the lack of guaranteed income for the most hurtful among us, lack of housing. We look at ecological devastation. We look at what's happening in the climate. When we look at the denial of health care, we look at how 87 million people in this country are either uninsured or underinsured. And we're the only country of the 25 wealthiest countries in the world that doesn't offer some form of health care, guaranteed health care. We look at the war economy. We look at the fact that we spend 54 cents of every discretionary dollar on the war economy and less than 16 cents on things like education and health care. And then when we look at the false moral narrative of religious nationalism, we look at how there are persons who try to say faith in the public square should only be about being against abortion, being against gay people, being for tax cuts, and being Republican or so. But in addition to that, we see that the same persons politically in state capitals and in the Congress that would vote to deny somebody who's paid their debt to society the right to vote also vote against living wages. That's right. And oftentimes people of different races, creeds, and colors don't see that. And so somebody goes in that community and says, I'm here to try to protect your vote and protect it against fraud, and fraud becomes a code word for black and brown people. The people they're talking to, particularly in poor and low wealth community, don't realize that same person that will deny him his felony reenfranchisement is also denying you a living wage. Yes. And the majority of the people being denied a living wage are white in number, numerical number, not in percentage. Yes. Our movement is making these connections. And so you will see in June, somebody like Dennis Gaddy, who's black, but he's also going to be standing right beside a young man I met in Hazard County, Kentucky, who's white, who people don't bring together. And guess what? His story sounds just like yours.
That's right.
That's the uniqueness about this Poor People's Low Wage Workers Assembly Moral March on Washington to the poll. We are committed to the bringing together of folk who often have been divided so that other folk can have political power. And we're not allowing, we're saying no more to that.
No more.
And so and even with our speakers, we always tell folk, make the connections Make the connections. Make the connection. One of our workers in North Carolina is a fast food worker who had voted all her life Republican. We're not against Republicans or against Democrats. We're for what's right and what should be done.
That's right.
But what she said when she came to the movement, for years she did not know that the very people she was voting for, on the one hand, were blocking her health care and blocking her living wages.
That's right.
We believe if we can put a face on this, it can fundamentally shift the politics in this
That's
nation.
right. That's right.
And that's the point.
That's right.
That's the point. That's the point. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Oscar Pineda. I am a community specialist LGBTQ at Centro Hispano. I am originally from El Salvador, but currently I am a resident of North Carolina. I define myself as a Latino, queer, and undocumented immigrant. I came to the United States 5 years ago. I have witnessed and experienced firsthand how hard people in my community work. However, regardless of how many hours we work or jobs we have, our economic situation almost never allowed us to leave poverty. We as immigrants contribute greatly to the development of this country. There is not a single house in this country, restaurant, kitchen, or field that has not been worked by an undocumented immigrant. Yet, we are paid less, have no benefits from the government, no access to healthcare, and experience discrimination. I stand here today as a single voice for the 11 million of undocumented immigrants living in the shadows within the United States, fighting for a better opportunity, better salaries, and a better life. Immigrants are essential to our communities, and we deserve an immigration reform.
That's right. Woo!
We want to live without the fear of our families being torn apart by ICE. That's why we support and invite our community to come together on March 28 back in Bicentennial Plaza as a coalition in preparation to march into Washington, D.C. on June 18. It is time to raise our voices louder. We advocate for an inclusive solution, a response for the undocumented immigrants. This country requires and deserves an immigration system with a human face. We all count, regardless of our origin, skin color, beliefs, place of residence, social class, or political party affiliation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Oscar Pineda. Soy un especialista comunitario LGBTQ del Centro Hispano. Soy originario de El Salvador, pero actualmente vivo en Carolina del Norte. Me defino como un inmigrante latino, queer e indocumentado. Hace 5 años llegué a los Estados Unidos. He sido testigo y he experimentado de primera mano lo duro que nuestra gente trabaja en este país. Sin embargo, a pesar de las muchas horas que trabajamos o los múltiples trabajos que tenemos, nuestra situación económica casi nunca nos permite salir de la pobreza. Nosotros como inmigrantes contribuimos de manera significativa al desarrollo y crecimiento de este país. No hay una sola casa, cocina de restaurante o campo que no haya sido trabajado por un inmigrante indocumentado. Sin embargo, nos pagan menos, no tenemos beneficios del gobierno, no tenemos acceso a la atención médica y experimentamos discriminación. Hoy estoy como una de las voces de los 11 millones de inmigrantes indocumentados que viven en las sombras dentro de los Estados Unidos y luchan por mejores oportunidades, mejores salarios y calidad de vida. Los inmigrantes somos esenciales para nuestras comunidades y merecemos una reforma migratoria. Queremos vivir sin el temor de que ICE separe a nuestras familias. Es por eso que apoyamos e invitamos a nuestra comunidad a unirse el 28 de marzo próximo en el Bicentennial Plaza como una coalición en preparación para marchar en Washington, D.C. el 18 de junio. Es hora de alzar nuestras voces más fuerte. Abogamos por una solución inclusiva, una respuesta para los inmigrantes indocumentados. Este país requiere y merece un sistema migratorio con rostro humano. Todos contamos, independientemente de nuestro origen, color de piel, pensamiento, lugar de residencia, clase social o afiliación política. Gracias.
My name is Nancy Petty, and I'm the pastor of Pullen Memorial Baptist Church here in Raleigh. moral narrative. Well, a narrative is a story, and we live by stories.
That's right.
There's a narrative in America that is being told right now. It is a narrative that says the poor deserve to be poor.
False.
It is a narrative that is based in a philosophy of scarcity,
Yes.
that there is not enough for all to have what one needs to thrive and to be successful. It is a narrative that says the earth's resources are here for us to pillage and rape. It is a narrative that says that we can't provide health care for those who are sick in body. It is a narrative that says the color of one's skin matters. It is a narrative that says there is only one way to the holy. And it is, my friends, a false narrative. It is an immoral narrative. And we have gathered here today to say that there is another narrative, another story, and we are here to tell that story. It is a moral narrative that tells the truth, that it is our unjust systems that leave people poor, that in America there is an abundance of all the things that people need to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's right. Yes.
It is our narrative, and it is the narrative that says there are peaceful ways to resolve conflict.
Yes.
It is a narrative that says we are to be stewards, good stewards of Mother Earth's resources.
Yes.
It is a moral narrative that says that all people of faith, regardless of tradition or the name by which you call your Holy One, all are the beloved. All are loved by the Creator as being created in the image of God. It is a moral narrative that says no matter the color of your skin, you are worthy. You are worthy of a life of dignity,
Yes.
of respect, and of equality. We are here to say we will not stop, nor will we be silent until the moral narrative of America is America's narrative.
Good morning, North Carolina.
Good
morning. I bring you greetings. I'm one of the tri-chairs, Ana Blackburn. We want to say that on behalf of the tri-chairs and the coordinating committee, we thank you for being here with us. And we want to say, remember that the roots of Moral Monday began right here 8 years ago. We ask you to join us on March 28th for a Moral Monday revival like has never been seen before. Why? Because lives are dependent on it. It's a do or die midterm election, and the Moral Monday Coalition will come together to say, somebody's been hurting our people, and we won't be silent anymore. So we are almost due to close. Allow me a few minutes for some logistics. So on March 28th, we will gather here for a pre-rally at 5 o'clock. And at 5:30 here at Bicentennial Mall, thank you, we will gather right here on Bicentennial Mall where the roots of Moral Monday began. And then the rally will begin at 5:30. I want to say that the Poor People's Campaign has the More Tour, Dr. Barber said, traveling across 10 states. On that same day, we would be joined by Wisconsin also having the More Tour stop there. So on the 28th, we will have 2 stops, Wisconsin and North Carolina.
Yes.
Here in North Carolina, for the Memorial Monday revival. We will be joined by regionally Virginia and South Carolina. We'll be bringing our people to join with us. We invite everyone to join with us. So they are coming from Virginia and South Carolina. We have low-wage workers organizing with SEIU, community members from Chester County, South Carolina, at the GITI tire plant will all be joining in here with us in Bicentennial Mall. We want to say that if you need to connect with us, you can connect with us at poorpeoplescampaign.org. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page, which is North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, or just at PPCNC on Facebook. The event is set up. You can click on to for an RSVP to March 28th, and partners can sign up right on the event page as well. And as we know, electronics are our best friends and our enemies. So at this point, we're hoping Wednesday that you can go straight to our webpage, all right, which is ppc-nc.org, where you can do the same thing. Register for the 28th, register for June 18, and register for our coalition partners. But you currently can do that on our Facebook page. So we also want you to find us on Twitter, NC_PPC, and on Instagram, North Carolina _PPC. We gather because it is a do or die situation for many. Because the policies here in North Carolina was what brought the Moral Monday Coalition together. We are now facing statistics that say that because North Carolina decided to be one of those states not to take and extend Medicare, we have over 2,000 people annually dying because we didn't expand. And if we would have expanded, 30,000 military personnel would have benefited from that. We have countless immigration bills that continually oppress our community and keep them in the shadows. This is the reason why we came together in 2008. This is the reason why we say come back on March 28th, because here we will gather as one voice to propel us into June 28th to march as a state with over 42 other states and across the nation of people that will join to say, no more, basta, it is enough. So we thank you and we ask you and invite you to go to the webpage and visit and click at the bottom of the webpage where it shows the stats of North Carolina, where it shows that 2 million make under $15 an hour, where it shows that over 9,000 people in North Carolina are homeless, where it shows that 1 million people in North Carolina are uninsured. These are the reasons why we march. These are the reasons why we come together. We are going to put a face on the tragedy of the bills that this state, under the representatives and the leadership of this state, keep our people down, keep our people oppressed.
Shame.
We say it is time. We were born for a time like this. We must come together. It's do or die. March 28th, right here at Bicentennial Mall. Thank you.
Fannie Lou Hamer says, when I liberate myself, I liberate others.
Yes.
If we don't speak out, nobody's going to speak out for us.
Say so.
So we are speaking out today.
That's right.
Righteousness exalts a nation. Hatred just makes people miserable. The humanity of all Americans is diminished when any group is denied rights granted to others. We must do more to help every eligible person have access to voting.
That's right.
We must do more to expand access to affordable, quality health care.
Yes.
We must do more to clean up our air, water, and preserve our land for now and generations to come.
Yes.
We must do more to preserve human dignity, to our brothers and sisters of different ethnicities who seek asylum in this country we are living in. We must do more to fight and annihilate poverty, where no one should go to bed hungry or bankrupt for healthcare emergencies. We must do more to change the narrative of the extremist religious nationalism. Inclusively, collectively, and individually, we must stand together for a world where everyone is valued. And we won't stop standing up, we won't shut up, we won't give up until everyone can dream of a world where humankind no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its path adorn. We'll dream of a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world we dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of this earth, and every boy, girl, woman, and man is free. Where wretchedness will hang its head and joy like a pearl, attend the needs of all mankind. Of such we dream our world. Let us work together with unmitigated goal for this work of a dream of a world we can share together. We must do more.
I wanted to give two further details. On March 28th, because the Poor People's Campaign believes in facts and we believe in science, we want to ensure that it's very important that you know that during the pre-rally, Healthier Together, one of our coalition partners, will be set up for those that want to be vaccinated, for those that need to be tested, and we will have PPEs on site for everyone. Why? Because we believe in the health of our community. Yes. We will have community health workers on site to help assist that for the pre-rally. We also want to not neglect on our part to state that we have over 35 partners that will be joining with us. And I really want to take just a very short minute just to highlight that we do have partners here today that have joined us, and that is El Colectivo, El Centro Hispano, Healthier Together, North Carolina Coalition for Justice, WILPF, Second Chance, Beloved Community, Fight for 15. They are coming back on the days, and we invite everyone that's watching, and we thank South Carolina and Virginia for joining us on that day. We thank you. Much love and blessings.
Can I get you just real quick? All roads lead to Washington on June 18th.
Okay. Go ahead. All roads lead to Washington on June 18th. Woo!
One more time. 122 afterwards. Action. Upside down. Oh, sorry.